Welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and I have great news for you. The Seattle Seahawks are going to absolutely crush the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday night football. Well, I guess it's not quite Sunday night football. Sunday afternoon, depending on where you're watching the game. Sunday night if you're on the East Coast or over here in Central Time. Your Seahawks are going to dominate, and I've got a big reason why. Before we get into that reason why the Seahawks are going to dominate, the road to 75K is upon us. We are within 500 new subscribers. Shoot, we're almost within 400 new subscribers. So make sure that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go in, smash that subscribe button. You're getting free daily Seattle Seahawks content. Now, the good news starts in Arizona. The Cardinals have decided that they are going to have Jacoby Brissett be their starting quarterback over Kyler Murray. That was reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter. And I think that getting Brissett in this game is going to really accentuate some of the things that the Seahawks defense does well. But the Cardinals and their head coach, Jonathan Gannon, really feels like Brissett's actually going to help accentuate some of the offensive skill set that they have in Arizona. Here's what Gannon had to say on naming Brissett the new QB starter. So in my mind, I take all the variables that I have to make a decision and make the decision when I need to. And I think we are doing a pretty good job on offense. I like what the offense is doing right now. Now, a little bit of that is word salad there from Gannon, but at the end of the day, he's saying, hey, I think Jacoby Brissett gives us the best chance to win. Well, it also might be because Adam Schefter just reported that Kyler Murray and the Cardinals have consulted multiple doctors on his foot injury, and if you rush Kyler Murray back, he might suffer a setback. And if he suffers a setback, because right now he's right at that 4-week window there on this tweet, if he suffers a setback, not only might it mean that he's going to miss another month or two, it might end up being the end of Kyler Murray in the year of 2025 playing quarterback for the Cardinals. So it makes sense that you don't want to risk that injury, give him extra time to heal up, and plus, I mean, shoot, Brissett and the Cardinals offense look pretty decent against the Cowboys. I mean, you go through it, the total yards isn't eye-popping. It's not going to jump off the page, but you can see that passing the football, rushing the football, they were kind of doing a pretty even split there, doing pretty well. No turnovers, no fumbles. The time of possession greatly favored the Cardinals, and you went on the road and you beat a Dallas Cowboys team that, look, I don't know if they're a playoff team, but they're definitely a team that's going to be frisky. They're definitely a team that will be in the hunt when Steve Kornacki and his weirdo khakis are going around naming which teams could make the playoffs and what their percentage chances are. And Brissett had a pretty darn good game, I would say. Obviously, some of his yardage is down on the team stats because they account for sack yards as well. But, I mean, 21 for 31, that's pretty efficient. Not great at math, but that's over 60%, I believe. When you're looking at the yardage mark, I mean, look, man, that isn't bad at all. Not turning the football over, getting into the end zone multiple times. I get it, man. Jacoby Brissett looked pretty darn good. Jonathan Gannon, he should believe that this offense is on the right track. He should value his coaching staff and his players and go to bat for them when the media asks him questions. And I get why he had that quote of saying, hey, I looked at all the variables and right now the offense isn't horrific. Let's go with Brissett and give Kyler Murray more opportunities to rest up and heal and be ready to recover. Here's the thing, though. This is a mirage and not the Vegas kind. Right? This is a mirage in the desert. You need water, and that Cardinals team has not looked good all season long for the most part. And frankly, right now, I think that this offense hasn't improved. And I'm going to tell you why. But before I do that, I want to see if you agree with me. I don't believe that the Cardinals have figured out their offensive issues. I think that you're seeing a blip on the radar. I think that game against the Cowboys, for a multitude of reasons, is fake news. Do you agree with me? Let me know down below in the comments. Now, why is this offense a mirage? I think there are a couple of different factors, and the biggest one that I want to start with is the player who is going to be playing the most important position, and that's Jacoby Brissett. When you go through his career, especially his last 4 seasons, you're going to see some stats that I think people believe are good, but really are not. He's a quarterback that is going to be efficient with the football, but he's not a special player. He's not a player that is going to come in and completely change what an offense is. Yeah, he looked pretty okay in Cleveland. But remember, that Cleveland team in 2022 wasn't very good. And he's 50% basically on touchdowns to interceptions. Every other touchdown, he's thrown an interception. You look at the mop-up duty that he had in Washington, well, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot. So the completion percentage is going to be higher, but his yards aren't great. When you see him get more extended time, and frankly, watching that game when Seattle played New England last year, I saw a guy who was average at best, or a guy who would hit the easy route that was short for a 2 or 3 yard gain on like a 3rd and 8, because that's the only guy that was open. It wasn't a guy that could push the ball down the field. He's looked much better in Arizona, but he hasn't really gone up against a bunch of other good teams with the Cardinals this year. Right now, I think that you're seeing one of those Jacoby Brissett, hey, he had a good game or 2 good games in a row, but then he's going to fall into the issues that Brissett has had his whole career, and that is he is a backup quarterback at best. He has these games where you look at Jacoby Brissett and say, oh man, could Brissett be a starter in the NFL? And then he has 3 or 4 games in a row where, look, man, he just doesn't play well. He's the type of player that is never going to elevate a team, and he's at the bottom end of what you would call a game manager in the NFL. The other big thing with that matchup is that the Cowboys' defense is horrible. They have not been good all year long. The D-line is bad, the linebackers are bad, and the secondary can't cover anybody. This is a crazy stat, and actually this tweet got sent to me by our Chat Sports host, Tom Downey, saying, hey, you might want to use this in one of your videos going up against the Arizona Cardinals. But I want to read it word for word because it's an important tweet from Todd Archer. Each one of the Cowboys' opponents scored fewer points in the game after playing Dallas this season, and the drop-off is staggering. Teams are averaging 14.5 fewer points immediately following their game against the Cowboys. That's 2 freaking touchdowns. 2 touchdowns worse. Everyone looks good against the Cowboys offensively. Yeah, there were no turnovers. That's because the Cowboys didn't have anyone that could make a play to cause a turnover. There are a lot of things that I don't love with Jacoby Brissett's game, but what he does do a good job of is take what the defense gives him. The problem is that defenses usually give him 2 or 3 yard catches, and he just takes and takes and takes and takes, and then you have to punt because you don't get a first down. When I look at Jacoby Brissett's entirety of his career and his matchup against the Cowboys, this is the perfect, maybe Jacoby Brissett is halfway decent type of game, and in reality, Seattle is going to absolutely spoil him, so much so that I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be begging for Kyler Murray to come back anytime soon. I want to get into what your Seahawks defense is going to be able to do to shut down the Cardinals, because I think it's a pretty easy, pretty clear game plan, and you can go and look at not just the last matchup that the Seahawks had against the Cardinals, but the entirety of this defense's season and how they've played opposing quarterbacks. But before I do that, I have to let you know about the sponsor of today's video, and that is Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off, which ones are overhyped. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. I have a little 3-pick power play for this weekend's action. Tua, less than his passing yards. Don't believe in Tua. JSN, more than his receiving yards. Sam Darnold, more than his pass TDs. Love the Sea Chickens. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. The Seahawks defensive line is absolutely going to eat. And what I mean by that is they are going to continue to play at the level that they have all year long, and that is elite. And it isn't just because you have one good pass rusher. This isn't a Denver Broncos prime Von Miller situation. This is a Seahawks defensive line that is as good as the sum of their parts. Every single one of those players, from Leonard Williams to Byron Murphy to DeMarcus Lawrence to Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, name any of those players in the interior defensive line and on the edges, they all work in tandem to make what has been one of the best pass rushing units in the National Football League. When you just go through the sack numbers from your Seattle Seahawks, they are third in the NFL right now. And when you look at their top 5 guys, 4 of them are on the defensive line, and they're all basically even, right? You go through it, there isn't more than 2 sacks that separate your top guy from your 4th guy. And the guy who's in 4th right now, DeMarcus Lawrence, well, he missed a game because he was hurt, and it took him a little bit to get going this season. The Seahawks defensive line has been able to get after quarterbacks all season long without having to bring extra blitzers. And I think that's important to note because you are winning one-on-one matchups. When teams leave a offensive lineman on an island against your Seattle Seahawks defensive line, they just frankly aren't winning right now. And then when you look at the last matchup that you had against the Arizona Cardinals, yeah, there's a couple of secondary players or linebackers on this list. You dialed up a few extra blitzes, but you had 6 sacks against the Arizona Cardinals in week 4, and it came from a variety of players, but the most important 2 that I want to dive into is Uchenna Nwosu and Leonard Williams. It was a coming out game for Uchenna Nwosu. That's finally when you saw him 100% healthy, and he was moving. When the Arizona Cardinals had to pass, if they were not committing to Nwosu, he was getting in the backfield. Leonard Williams was getting his sacks from inside at that defensive tackle position, as well as getting to Kyler Murray from a defensive end position when they were going into more of a big personnel type of spot. And that was against a mobile quarterback. I understand that Kyler Murray from time to time can hold onto the football too long because he thinks he can get out of a lot of sacks or he can make extra plays, and that does lead to some extra sacks. But right now, the Arizona Cardinals offensive line has given up 29 sacks on the season. They are not a great pass pro unit. And I think that your Seattle Seahawks defensive line is going to eat them alive. Because what are you going to do against the statue that is Jacoby Brissett? He is the true blue pocket passing QB. He's got like 50 yards rushing this year, and he doesn't want to run the football. He wants to get the ball out quickly. Well, he's not going to be able to against this secondary, and I think the defensive line is going to continue to do what they do at a high rate, and that's win one-on-one matchups and use stunts and twists to get themselves free against offensive linemen. The Cardinals' offensive line is not good, and you got 6 sacks in the last meeting against the Cardinals. Imagine what's going to happen against a guy like Jacoby Brissett who cannot run. If the Seahawks get up early in this game, get up big early, they're going to pin their ears back and absolutely have a field day against this Arizona Cardinals team. Jacoby Brissett starting is the best possible news for the Seahawks because he's a mirage. He's not a good QB. He's below average at best right now. Your Seahawks are going to find a way to win this football game, and this defensive line is going to have a historic day. Remember, we're on the road to 75K. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got free daily Seattle Seahawks content coming out every single day. You don't want to miss it. So make sure that you go in and click that subscribe button, and we'll see you later on.